Your truck is being towed in 5 minutes. I was in the middle of a video call with my team at Homeland Security when I heard the angry shouting through my apartment window. I glanced at my laptop screen, where 5 government agents were waiting for my security assessment report. Sorry everyone, there's some commotion outside. Let me check what's happening. I'll be right back. I muted my microphone and walked to my 3rd-floor window. In the parking lot below, a short man with a clipboard was standing next to my black Ford F-150. A tow truck with Peterson's Towing painted on the side had backed up to my vehicle, its lights flashing. What the hell? I grabbed my keys and ran downstairs, not bothering to change out of my sweatpants and Homeland Security t-shirt. As I burst through the building's front door, the man was placing an official-looking sticker on my truck's window. "Excuse me," I called out, trying to keep my voice calm. "That's my truck. What's going on here?" The man turned around with the smug smile of someone who loves having power over others. He was in his 50s, with thinning hair combed over a bald spot and wearing what looked like a security guard uniform, but with Lakeside Gardens HOA embroidered on the chest. "This vehicle is in violation of HOA regulations," he announced, pointing to his clipboard. "No commercial or government vehicles allowed in residential parking. It's being towed." I blinked, confused. "What? I've been living here for 3 years. There's no such rule." "New rule. Passed last month by the board." He pointed to a small sticker on my back bumper. "The Department of Homeland Security seal I'm required to have on my vehicle for work. No government vehicles. Says so right here in the bylaws." I took a deep breath. "Sir, I've never seen you before. Who exactly are you?" He puffed out his chest. "Charles Peterson, HOA Security and Compliance Officer. And you are in violation." The tow truck driver, a younger guy with tattoos covering his arms, was already hooking chains to my truck. "Stop," I said firmly. "This is a mistake. I'm a resident here and I work for the Department of Homeland Security. This is my assigned vehicle." "Don't care if you're the president himself," Charles sneered. "Rules are rules. No government vehicles in residential parking. It lowers property values." Something didn't feel right. In my 3 years living at Lakeside Gardens, I'd met everyone on the HOA board. There had never been any security and compliance officer. And this man's uniform looked cheap, more like a Halloween costume than an official uniform. I walked closer to my truck. "I need to see some ID and the official HOA resolution about this new rule." Charles waved his clipboard in my face. "It's all right here, buddy. Now step back or I'll call the real police for interfering with HOA business." That's when I noticed something odd. The tow truck's license plate was partially covered with duct tape. And the paperwork on Charles's clipboard wasn't HOA letterhead. It looked like something printed from a home computer. I turned to the tow truck driver. "Do you have the official towing request paperwork from the HOA board?" The driver hesitated, looking at Charles. He just called us for the job. Said he was HOA enforcement." I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling Susan Miller right now. She's the actual HOA president." I started dialing her number from my contacts. Charles's face changed instantly. The smug confidence vanished, replaced by nervousness. "No need to bother her. We can discuss this reasonably." As I waited for Susan to answer, I noticed Charles taking small steps backward toward the tow truck. When Susan picked up, I quickly explained the situation. "What? We don't have any security officer," she said, confused. "And we definitely haven't banned government vehicles. That's not even legal. Who is this person?" I put the phone on speaker. "Susan, I have you on speaker. Can you confirm that Lakeside Gardens HOA has not hired a security and compliance officer named Charles Peterson?" "Absolutely not," Susan's voice rang clearly. "We don't have any such position or person. And we would never tow a resident's vehicle without multiple warnings and a board vote." Charles's face had gone pale. The tow truck driver was now unhooking the chains from my truck, looking annoyed. "Hey man," the driver said to Charles, "you told me this was an official HOA job." I stepped closer to Charles, who was now backing toward the tow truck's cab. "Who are you really? And what were you planning to do with my truck?" Charles suddenly broke into a run, jumping into the passenger side of the tow truck. "Go, go, go," he shouted to the driver. But the driver wasn't moving. He'd stepped away from the truck, hands raised. "Whoa, I'm not part of whatever this is. I just got a call for a towing job." I pulled out my Homeland Security ID badge. "Sir, I'm a federal agent. Please stay right where you are." Charles looked like he might try running on foot, so I quickly snapped several pictures of him with my phone. "The police will be very interested in these, Charles," if that's even your name. Something in my tone must have convinced him to stop. He slumped in the tow truck seat, defeated. That's when I noticed the small handheld radio on Charles's belt, not a standard security guard equipment, and the gleam of what looked like lock-picking tools poking out of his pocket. This wasn't just an HOA scam. This guy was trying to steal my truck, a federal government vehicle containing sensitive equipment. He had no idea what he'd just gotten himself into. Within 20 minutes, 2 police cars arrived at Lakeside Gardens. Officer Jenkins, a veteran cop I'd worked with on interagency task forces, took Charles, whose real name turned out to be Kevin Simmons, into custody. So let me get this straight, Jenkins said, reviewing his notes. This guy pretended to be from your HOA, tried to tow your Homeland Security vehicle, and had lock-picking tools on him? I nodded, watching as Kevin sat handcuffed in the back of the patrol car. Yes, along with a fake ID, a walkie-talkie, and what appears to be a list of government vehicle license plates. I handed Jenkins the small notebook I'd found fallen from Kevin's pocket during the confrontation. Jenkins whistled low. This is looking more like a federal case than a simple towing scam. That's what I'm thinking too, I replied. I need to call my supervisor. The tow truck driver, Mike, was cooperating fully with the police. He called our dispatch, said he was HOA security and needed an immediate tow. Said the resident was out of town and it was blocking emergency access. We get calls from HOAs all the time, so it didn't seem suspicious. While the police finished questioning Mike, I stepped aside to call my boss, Deputy Director Rodriguez at the Department of Homeland Security. Martinez, you're saying someone specifically targeted your vehicle? Rodriguez asked after I explained the situation. Yes, sir. And he had a list with other government plate numbers. This doesn't look like a random theft attempt. There was a long pause. Keep this quiet for now. I'm sending Agent Chen to assist the local police. We need to know if this is an isolated incident or something bigger. After hanging up, I walked back to Officer Jenkins. Homeland Security is sending an agent to coordinate. We need to treat this as a potential security breach until we know more. Jenkins nodded seriously. We'll hold him at the station until your people arrive. As the police car with Kevin inside pulled away, Susan Miller, the actual HOA president, arrived at the scene, clearly upset. I can't believe someone would impersonate our HOA, she said, shaking her head. We've had problems with vehicle break-ins lately, but nothing like this. Has anyone been going door to door claiming to be from the HOA recently? I asked. Susan's eyes widened. Yes, actually. Several residents mentioned someone checking water meters last week, saying they were from HOA maintenance. We sent out an email clarifying that we hadn't authorized any such inspections. This was getting more concerning by the minute. I'd like to see those emails and any security camera footage you might have from the clubhouse or entrance gates. Susan agreed to provide everything right away. As we walked to the HOA office, I realized I was still in my sweatpants and Homeland Security t-shirt, having completely forgotten about my video call. Excuse me a moment, I said, pulling out my phone to send a quick message to my team explaining the situation and rescheduling our meeting. Inside the HOA office, Susan pulled up the security footage from the past week. Sure enough, there was Kevin, or whatever his real name was, walking through the community in various disguises. First as a maintenance worker, then as a package delivery person, and finally as his HOA security persona. He's been casing the place, I said, more to myself than to Susan. But why focus on government vehicles? Susan looked confused. Are there other government cars in the community besides yours? That's what I need to find out, I replied, taking screenshots of the security footage. Do you have a list of all residents who work for the government or military? We don't track employment information that specifically, Susan said. But I know there's an FBI analyst in Building 4, and a couple of Pentagon employees in Building 7. I felt a chill run down my spine. Lakeside Gardens was known as an affordable apartment complex near Washington, D.C. that attracted many government employees due to its convenient location and security features. If someone was targeting federal employees' vehicles, this could be part of something much more serious than a simple auto theft operation. Agent Chen arrived an hour later, a serious woman with short black hair and a no-nonsense demeanor I'd worked with on several cybersecurity operations. Martinez, she nodded professionally. Our team is checking the plate numbers from that notebook. 3 matches so far, all government vehicles that have been reported tampered with or broken into during the past month. Any pattern to which agencies are being targeted? I asked. That's the concerning part, Chen replied, lowering her voice. All Homeland Security, FBI, or military intelligence. No regular military, no postal service, no other federal agencies. My stomach tightened. They're targeting intelligence and security vehicles specifically. Chin nodded grimly. Exactly. And now we need to figure out why. The police interrogation of Kevin Simmons yielded little information. He claimed he was just stealing cars for a chop shop operation, but couldn't explain the specific targeting of government vehicles or provide the location of this supposed chop shop. He's been trained, Chin concluded after we watched the interrogation through a one-way glass. Notice how he maintains the same simple story without elaboration, regardless of the questioning angle. I agreed. This isn't his first rodeo. Have we identified him yet? Fingerprints came back with multiple identities. He's a ghost. Chin handed me a folder with several driver's licenses, all with different names but featuring the same man. We're running facial recognition through international databases now. While we waited for more information, I returned to Lakeside Gardens to check on my truck. A DHS technical team had already arrived to inspect it for tampering or tracking devices. Agent Martinez, called out the lead tech, a young woman named Patel. You're going to want to see this. She pointed to a small device attached underneath my rear bumper, cleverly hidden behind the tow hitch. It's a GPS tracker. Military grade. Not something your average car thief would have access to. I stared at the small black device. How long has it been there? Based on the battery level and dust accumulation, I'd estimate about 2 weeks, Patel replied. And it's not the only thing we found. She led me to the hood of my truck, which was now open. There's a secondary device wired into your engine control module. If activated remotely, it could disable your vehicle completely. My mind raced with the implications. They weren't just trying to steal my truck. They were targeting it specifically. Looks that way, Patel agreed. And here's the kicker. The components are Russian-made. I immediately called Chen with this new information. She arrived at Lakeside Gardens within 30 minutes, bringing Rodriguez with her. This has officially become a national security investigation, Rodriguez announced after examining the devices. Martinez, we need to know exactly what files you've been working on and who might have interest in them. For the past 6 months, I've been conducting vulnerability assessments on critical infrastructure, specifically, power grids and water treatment facilities. My work involved identifying potential security breaches that could be exploited by foreign actors. My most recent project was identifying supervisory control systems that could be accessed remotely, I explained. I found several vulnerabilities in systems used by 3 major power companies. Rodriguez's expression darkened. And those findings are on your laptop? The one in your truck? No, I assured him. All classified materials stay on secured servers. I only access them through encrypted connections. There's nothing sensitive stored locally. Nevertheless, Rodriguez said, they targeted you specifically. There must be a reason. Agent Chin, who had been on the phone with headquarters, rejoined us. We've got a hit on our mystery man. His real name is Anton Petrov. Former Russian intelligence, now working as a freelancer for the highest bidder. She showed us a file on her tablet. A photograph of a younger Kevin/Anton in military uniform, standing beside several other officers. He's known for specialized operations targeting intelligence personnel. Usually for information gathering, not assassination. So they wanted either my truck, my equipment, or access to my apartment, I reasoned. But why the elaborate HOA ruse? Why not just break into my apartment when I'm away? Because you're never away for long, Chin pointed out. According to your building's security logs, you haven't left town in over 3 months. Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. So they created a situation to separate you from your vehicle. If they succeeded in towing it away, they would have had plenty of time to clone your devices, install more sophisticated surveillance equipment, or plant false information. And I just happened to be home when they tried it, I said, feeling a chill at how close they'd come to succeeding. If I hadn't been on that video call, if I hadn't heard the shouting outside. We need to set a trap, Rodriguez decided. Make them think they succeeded at least partially. See who they report back to. Over the next 48 hours, we developed an operation to catch whoever was behind Petrov. The plan was simple but risky. I would continue my normal routine, but with subtle changes to suggest I was working on an even more sensitive project. One involving nuclear power plant security protocols. Meanwhile, DHS technical teams installed subtle monitoring equipment throughout my apartment and vehicle, designed to detect any surveillance or intrusion attempts. My truck was outfitted with the original tracking device, now monitored by our team, along with fake classified documents carefully crafted to mislead anyone who accessed them. Petrov, still in police custody, was kept isolated from any communication. As far as his handlers knew, he had simply gone silent after his failed attempt to get my truck, a common enough occurrence in their line of work to not immediately raise alarms. On the third day of our operation, the first attempt came, not at my truck but at my apartment. I was at the office when the sensors triggered an alert on my phone. Someone was picking the lock on my front door. The response team stationed nearby moved in silently. They caught a young woman who claimed to be a maintenance worker checking for a water leak. Her tools, however, included sophisticated electronic equipment designed to clone digital devices. Daria Sokolova, Chin told me later, showing me the woman's file. Another Russian operative, though less experienced than Petrov. She's refusing to talk, but her phone has given us valuable intelligence. The text messages on Sokolova's phone, though coded, revealed communication with a handler discussing the package and delivery requirements that clearly referred to obtaining information from my devices. We've identified 3 more operatives in the DC area, Rodriguez explained during our briefing. All targeting government employees working on infrastructure security. This is a coordinated intelligence operation. But why now? I asked. Infrastructure security isn't new. What's changed? Rodriguez hesitated, then decided to share. You know those vulnerabilities you found in the power grid systems? They match exactly with attack vectors we've seen attempted in the past month. Someone is actively trying to exploit the same weaknesses you've been documenting. The implication was clear. My work had inadvertently identified the very methods our adversaries were planning to use. By targeting me, they could learn exactly what we knew about their planned attacks. For the next phase of our counter-operation, we needed to convince the foreign intelligence cell that they had successfully accessed some of my information. Technical teams created detailed but subtly flawed files about power grid vulnerabilities, then made them appear as if they had been accessed and hastily resecured. It didn't take long for the bait to be taken. Within 24 hours, surveillance teams observed increased activity among the suspected foreign operatives. Phone intercepts revealed urgent communications with overseas handlers. They're accelerating their timetable, Chin reported. They think they've been compromised and are moving to execute whatever operation they've been planning. The Joint Terrorism Task Force coordinated with power companies across the eastern seaboard to implement emergency security protocols. Meanwhile, our team prepared to apprehend the remaining foreign operatives before they could activate their attack. The final confrontation came at a small office building in Northern Virginia, housing a contractor that provided software services to several power companies. Our team, along with FBI tactical units, surrounded the building at dawn. Martinez, you stay in the command vehicle, Rodriguez ordered. You're still a potential target. I reluctantly agreed, watching through surveillance feeds as the teams breached the building. Within minutes, they had apprehended 3 individuals in the server room, caught in the act of uploading malicious code into the power company's systems. We got them, Chen's voice crackled over the radio. And you're not going to believe who's running this operation. The mastermind behind the attempted infrastructure attack wasn't foreign intelligence at all, but a domestic terrorist group with foreign assistance. They had been planning to cause widespread power outages across major East Coast cities, creating chaos they hoped would destabilize the government. Petrov and his team weren't the architects. They were just hired experts providing technical assistance and intelligence gathering. The HOA impersonation scheme had been Petrov's idea, a creative way to access government vehicles without triggering security protocols. 3 weeks later, I was back in my apartment at Lakeside Gardens, though with significantly upgraded security. The case had expanded into one of the largest counterterrorism operations in recent years, with arrests continuing as more connections were uncovered. Susan Miller, the HOA president, had organized a community meeting to discuss security improvements and alert residents about the impersonation scheme that had nearly succeeded. We can't thank Agent Martinez enough for his alertness, Susan told the gathered residents. If he hadn't questioned this fake HOA officer, we might never have uncovered the larger plot. After the meeting, as residents mingled over coffee and cookies, an older gentleman approached me. He had a military bearing and a knowing look in his eyes. "That was good work, son," he said quietly. "I was Navy intelligence for 30 years. Seen operations like this before. They always find the soft underbelly, the place you least expect." I nodded in agreement. No one questions an HOA officer telling them they violated some rule. It's the perfect cover. The man chuckled. When I moved here, I chose this place because so many government folks live here. Figured it would be more secure. Guess that same concentration made us a target. As he walked away, I considered how ordinary settings, apartment complexes, coffee shops, grocery stores, had become the new front lines in modern intelligence operations. The days of dead drops in foreign capitals and microfilm hidden in hollowed-out coins had given way to HOA impersonators and fake maintenance workers. Later that evening, I was unpacking groceries when I received a text from Rodriguez. Petrov talking. Operation bigger than we thought. Briefing tomorrow 0800. I sighed, putting away the last of my groceries. The case wasn't over yet. But at least I wouldn't have to worry about anyone towing my truck in the middle of the night. As I looked out my window at the parking lot where it had all started, I noticed a car slowly driving through the community, a man inside peering at building numbers. Probably just a food delivery or a new resident. But I took a picture anyway and sent it to Chin. In this line of work, paranoia isn't a flaw, it's a survival skill. And the next time someone tells me I'm violating HOA rules, I'll be asking for identification, a board resolution, and perhaps a DNA sample too. You can never be too careful when it comes to homeowners associations. Especially the fake ones.